No death, no tragedy, just an idea, a ghost that never lived. Yet when they called to it, something called back. The Philip experiment began as a test of the mind, but ended as a whisper in the dark. Proof that sometimes belief is the most dangerous kind of haunting.
Now we begin.
Welcome back to the Common Anomaly podcast. I'm your host, Stuart James. Joining me today is Clayton James. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing good today.
Yeah? You feeling good? Me too. I'm excited for this topic. You know, for me, this is going to be a really interesting episode. This is one of those stories that I guess one of the reasons why we've got a show like this is cases like this. They're really interesting. It's a really interesting intellectual exercise to try and figure out exactly what was going on here with the Philip experiment, which we're going to be talking about in just a minute here. But yeah, how's your week going? I see you got a fancy new notebook.
Yeah, I filled up an entire notebook with, notes I use for this show. That's kind of an accomplishment for me.
Yeah.
I rarely fill up an entire notebook with anything other than crap for work.
I'm sure it's a really interesting notebook, like all the stuff we've discussed over the past year. That's great. I think you should hang on to it. I think we should publish it.
Oh yeah, it's I don't know.
We should sell copies.
I don't know if anyone wants to read that.
I would. It always looked super interesting from across the table. Yeah, little diagrams in there, and I know there's so much that we always leave out of our episodes. There's stuff we always never get to, and I think the audience would love to get a peek into your thought process.
You're not going to get anything too heady out of my notebook. Like in my Dyatlov Pass notes, there's literally just on one of the pages, there's just a giant header that says, "Remember to mention the radioactive Yetis," with a star next to it.
Yeah, well, those are
the kind of notes I take for the show.
That sounds very entertaining. That sounds like a book I'd like to read. Anyway, just something to think about. Just don't lose it.
I'm going to hang on to it for sure.
Okay, do you have any shout-outs before we dive into the deep end here?
No,
I'm taking that.
I'm so unprepared. I didn't.
Yeah. I feel really unprepared today as well. We're again condensing our timeline for this week with the hopes of getting another video out by Saturday on this one, but we'll see what happens. It just means less time for research, but we've got some really cool stuff today. So I guess we shouldn't waste any more time. We should just get into it. So the Philip experiment. What is it? I think we should start off by talking about the man in the middle.
Yes.
Mr. Philip Alistair, is it?
Philip Aylesford.
Let's
begin with him.
Yeah, let's get it right.
Yep. So Philip Aylesford, he was an English nobleman in the 17th century. He was born in 1624 into an aristocratic Catholic family. He was a friend and confidant to King Charles II. Actually, during the English Civil War, he backed King Charles I. And then when King Charles I was executed, he kind of helped King Charles II escape and supported him all through the years of his exile. And then after King Charles II came back and, became king again, this fellow Philip Aylesford, he was knighted by King Charles II.
Wow.
You will call him Sir. So his family owned a very large estate. It's called Diddington Manor. He served in a few military campaigns during the English Civil War. I believe he was a captain. After the Civil War, he was married to a woman named Dorothy.
Okay.
And this was not exactly a happy marriage. This was a marriage very much arranged by his parents and Dorothy's parents, kind of to consolidate their two estates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was very much a loveless kind of marriage. He would frequently describe this woman, Dorothy, as just very cold and distant.
Right. Yeah.
And severe.
It was more transactional.
Yeah. So anyway, Philip was not a happy man. One day he was out horseback riding on his estate. He happened upon a group of just traveling folk. And he describes meeting this beautiful young woman named Margot,
All right. Okay.
who he completely falls in love with.
Yeah.
He actually invites her to secretly live on his estate in the gatehouse.
And Margot was a gypsy, right?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is gypsy a derogatory term?
I don't know. I don't know any gypsies.
I don't know.
Stop
saying it.
I don't know if they'd be offended.
I'm not sure if it is considered a not. Well, let's assume Romanian descent.
Romani.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Anyway.
I sincerely apologize if we've offended any people of Romanian descent out there. Sorry to derail you. Please go ahead. Really done it, haven't I?
Anyway, he's very enchanted with the beautiful Romani woman Margot, who is secretly living in his gatehouse.
Yeah.
And having an affair with him. And this continues for some time, but the ever watchful Dorothy eventually finds out. She's not too happy about it. So she actually accuses Margot of witchcraft. And
okay, right.
It didn't,
right.
It didn't take much back in those days if you were accused of witchcraft to be taken away and put on a trial and burned at the stake. And you know what?
Pardon me. Sorry, my brain's not there. Quite there. Remind me of the time era we're in.
We're in the 17th century.
17th century. Okay.
17th century England.
Okay. Sorry.
So people calling themselves Witchfinder General.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. I was just trying to make sure I had the right context. But yeah, thank you.
So Margot is put on trial for witchcraft because she has cast a spell on Philip, and she's trying to steal Philip away from Dorothy. Philip, he does not want to intervene. He doesn't say anything when they come to take Margot away because he's scared that his own reputation is going to be stained for having this affair.
And you got to think you would be afraid, right? Because, like you say, it was serious business being accused of being a witch in this era. You would think very carefully before you threw in with the supposed witch, right? You could incriminate yourself and wind up right next to him.
Yeah. So the trial proceeds. Philip doesn't say anything. He doesn't do anything to intervene. Margot is found guilty of witchcraft and she is burned at the stake. Philip, he has a really hard time coming to terms with what's happened. And he's feeling a lot of guilt about his own inaction.
Right. And probably because he put her in that situation, right?
Yeah. So one night, Philip, he's racked by regret and with guilt. He climbs to the top of Diddington Manor and he throws himself off the roof. Kills himself. Tragic story for a guy with such a storied history. Friend and confidant of the king and a knight who fought bravely during the Civil War and is said to still haunt the town of Diddington to this day.
Okay.
But
what? What? He sounds like an interesting character.
He's not real.
He's not real?
He never existed. What? He's completely made up.
Yeah. And that's the crux of it.
None of that actually happened.
Philip is actually a completely fictional character. Now let's get into the meat of this. So what is the Philip experiment? The Philip experiment, early 1970s, 1972, I believe, in Toronto, Canada, by a group called the Toronto Society for Psychical Research. It was headed up by Dr. A.R.G. Owen and his wife, Iris Owen. And so they intentionally created this fictional character of Philip and then tried to basically bring him into being or commune with his spirit, knowing full well that he was a fictional creation. I believe their objectives were to try to see if spirit contact, if mediumship was all in the human mind, if it was created by our own psyches.
So basically, A.R.G. Owen, he had this theory that the phenomenon we believe is ghosts, spirits.
Yeah.
It's not actual contact we're having from the dead. He's not saying it's not a real phenomenon. He's just saying it's not dead people contacting us. It's more like psychic projections from our own minds.
Thought forms.
Yeah, thought forms.
And this very much follows off our last episode. I'm sure that's why you had this idea. after our last episode, because we often go to this place of, could mental energy events create spiritual beings? Or tulpas, or they're often referred to. But thought creations, can they be brought into being? Or is the phenomenon of actual, maybe low-level entities that then intrude on people trying to open themselves up to contact and impersonating ghosts of loved ones, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Knowing that people are open and willing to engage.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the kind of questions they were trying to answer. They worked on this. They created this story, like this very detailed kind of backstory for Philip, to make him seem as real as possible. And they all kind of met on a regular basis and focused their energy on this guy and his story. But they were having very little luck for a long time. They're at this for like a year and a half, and not having any results whatsoever.
Yeah, so basically the idea was to create a ghost.
Yeah.
Whole cloth create a ghost, and then try to summon this ghost through a seance.
Yeah.
They were conducting seances, and they were very committed to this. They were at this a full year. A full year they had no success.
Yeah.
But then a year in, they kind of changed their methodology a little bit. They were originally conducting this through the first year in kind of a very cold, brightly lit laboratory setting.
Yeah.
And they were getting nothing. And then they changed their methodology a bit. They dimmed the lights.
Yeah.
They moved into a more cozy space.
Got some candles.
They threw a little bit more, Victorian era theatrics into it.
Yeah. I'm sure they got some orgone generators on the table. Stuff like that. Crystal balls.
Worked.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Suddenly they got the table flying all over the room.
Yeah.
They're getting knocking on the walls, responding to questions and answers.
Yeah, and
strange mists appearing in the room.
The lights flickering, a cold draft blowing through.
All the things you expect from a seance, right?
Yeah.
And from a spirit contact.
Yeah,
all those trope things, right?
And when they were conversing with this spirit, they kind of developed kind of a method of two-way communication with this spirit through knocks it would make on this table they were sitting around.
Yeah.
One knock for yes, two for no. And they would be able to communicate with it through, yes or no questions. It had other ways of communicating too.
Yeah.
And expressing emotion. But it would actually answer questions consistent with Philip's life story. This character they'd invented named Philip Aylesford, the English nobleman who died in the 17th century.
But so then it becomes a question of, okay, so now they're getting actual results. They're experiencing all the typical paranormal activity, and it's consistent with Philip's story. But they all knew Philip's story really well. They spent a year focusing on him and this tale that they invented.
Yeah.
So we have to ask the question, well, what do you think is going on? Did they just all know his story so well, so inside out, that, let's take the skeptical angle, right? Mm-hmm. Someone who doesn't believe any of this is all in the human mind. It's all being fabricated. It's all hallucinatory. The knocks on the table. You'll even, I forget what the term was. I have it buried somewhere here in my notes. But basically, you're so expecting the result that you actually will knock the table yourself with your body and not even realize you're doing it, just because you're in such a heightened state of expectation and awareness.
But this experiment, it was very closely observed.
Yeah.
In a controlled setting, because they very much wanted to avoid accusations of fakery that happen so much in seances, because seances became very popular for a while. They went through a few eras. The seances were very popular. In the Victorian era they were popular.
Oh, yeah.
Post both world wars, they were very popular because so many people died, and loved ones wanted to have contact with people they'd lost.
Yeah.
And in the 70s, when this experiment took place, seances were becoming very popular once again. There was this whole wave of interest in New Age spirituality, and seances were becoming popular again. And there was so much fakery involved in so many of them.
Yeah, that's right. Because anytime something picks up popularity, the scammers are going to come out. They're going to come out of the woodwork to capitalize on it, right?
So, yeah, for every legitimate medium out there that's conducting a seance, people that are getting results that can't easily be explained through any kind of fakery. For every one of those, there's probably, 100 fraudsters out there that are just trying to take people's money. And it's all smoke and mirrors. And you know who actually loved exposing those people was Harry Houdini.
Oh yeah.
He actually loved going in and exposing all these fraud seance mediums.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that.
Actually, he'd be a good topic for his own episode, Harry Houdini.
Yeah, we should do that. So he's a debunker.
Yeah, he was a professor. Actually, when Harry Houdini died, his own wife tried to contact him through a seance, ironically.
Yeah.
And she got nothing. And I remember reading that. I'm like, I wonder if he's just spiteful.
Totally. He is on the other side, but he's just
like, no,
too stubborn.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
That's interesting.
Not letting one of those mediums.
That's interesting because he was a magician. Yeah. But I don't know his story very well, but I don't think he ever claimed to be doing real magic.
No, he never claimed any supernatural ability.
So he must have been very skeptical then.
Yeah, he was a huge skeptic, and he loved debunking mediums. But that's a whole other thing. But when they set up this Philip experiment, they specifically wanted people who had no claim to any psychic or paranormal ability, or even a belief in the supernatural.
Right.
Maybe an interest in the supernatural, but no belief or no claimed ability. They specifically wanted people with more of a skeptical mindset to participate in this.
That makes sense. To keep it objective, right? Yeah. Because the second you bring someone in who say it's their profession, their professional medium, there's that pressure to produce some kind of result through whatever means, right?
Yeah. There wasn't, in this group, there was no specific medium. There was no one kind of leading this group. Basically, what A.R.G. Owen, what he was theorizing is that there are people out there that have some, inherent psychic ability. And there's a lot of people who don't. But everyone's got a little bit. Mediums out there have like a psychic ability. That's what makes them mediums. The real ones anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a little bit of it. So we get these average people, and everyone's got a little bit of psychic ability through their combined efforts, that can add up and they can manifest something real. And basically what he thought they were creating, they'd committed themselves and memorized this story. They'd helped write this story of Philip. That's why this spirit of Philip was giving answers that were so consistent with his life story.
Yeah.
Because, they created him to give those answers. They're the only answers he could give. Actually, they said that Philip would give them no new information on his life story.
It's funny. I want to question, because you're speaking very much in a way that makes me think you believe that they actually created Philip as an entity. I just want to ask, what do you think? Do you think that that's possible, that that's what was happening here?
I've got a few theories.
You got a few theories? Okay. I'd like to hear them. I'm really fascinated by this. And like I said, it's kind of a bread and butter thought experiment. Because even Im and I were talking about our last episode, after the fact, after she listened to it, talking about that idea that, events can create this spiritual energy and create creatures or beings and bring them into existence. And even when I was talking with Mike and about the power of prayer, I do think it's real. You get a bunch of people, if something like that, if someone's belief in a Wendigo can actually create a Wendigo because it brings that evil into the world. Imagine what millions, tens of millions of Buddhists around the world praying to Buddha, putting their spiritual energy and their thought on a regular basis into the idea of Buddha. Buddha's got to be out there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So is JC and all the rest, right?
But what is a person really? What is a person? Depending on the religion or the spiritual belief, above a person is, a whole hierarchy of heavenly creatures, or there's also the belief in what you call the daemon, kind of the over self. And above that is some sort of God, the Godhead, the creator of the universe. What happens when we die? And like all our religions and all our spiritual beliefs, at some point down the line, we go back to join God. In a sense, science even parallels that. If you ask a scientist, what is life? What is life, or what is the purpose of life? Carl Sagan actually had a great quote about that. He said, life is the universe getting to know itself.
Yeah. Good one.
So, if you think of God as just one big consciousness, and we're all just kind of aspects or extensions of it, through enough intent, could we pull another aspect out of that source? Create it, if you will. That's kind of similar to what you said, a tulpa.
Yeah.
Or similar concept to a golem.
Yeah.
In Jewish mysticism.
So where
a
they're
creature
sculpted out of clay, but then
creature,
animated with magic. Yeah.
Creature built out of clay and then animated through will and magic.
Yeah.
Similar to that. That's one theory. It's not my favorite theory, though.
Okay. Well, theory.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a website called the Library of Babel?
I have not.
Oh, you should visit it. It's a fascinating website. And I'll tell you what this is. This is almost like an art experiment and a kind of a technological proof of concept. How the Library of Babel works. It's a website that contains everything ever written for all time, and everything that ever will be written for all time. And also everything that hasn't been written.
I have heard of this. Yeah, I have heard of this.
And it basically works through procedural generation. And what I mean by that, it's almost like a form of data compression.
Yeah.
Where very large amounts of data can be kind of broken down into seeds that can be run through an algorithm and used to generate the same output.
Yeah.
So the way this library is kind of broken up virtually, it's divided into hexagonal rooms, which are then divided into walls and shelves and volumes and then pages.
Right.
For example,
and not I could literal physical sense in a virtual sense.
A virtual sense.
Yeah.
So for example, I could go to this website and I could look up the text, "Hello, my name is Clayton."
Yeah.
And I say, "Find where in the library this text appears." And it is there in the library. It's on Wall 4, Shelf 5, Volume 16, page 264 of Hexagon 02KM3NGP9ZG111. Continues for a while after that, but you get the idea.
That's right. And it's kind of the 100 monkeys on typewriters idea.
But the thing
right?
is, that text has always been there. I didn't create that text. That text was always there, waiting for me to find it.
Because it's an infinite library, and an infinite library, all possibilities will be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like you could plug in the transcript of this episode, and it'll have a location in this library.
Yeah, it'll be there. But it's always been there.
Right.
It's always been there. And that kind of, there's a similar concept, kind of an infinite compact disc, because a compact disc, as we know them, they store 2.33 gigs of data in a spiral loop of pits and flat areas. That's how it encodes data.
Yeah.
This loop extends for 5.6 kilometers if it were unraveled from the CD.
Okay.
So there's a finite arrangement of data you could have in that spiral loop. There's a finite number of ways you could arrange bits on that CD.
Okay.
So let's say you had an infinitely large compact disc. Let's say you had a compact disc the size of the known universe.
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
Okay.
Infinite compact disc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not literally infinite, but it's the size of the known universe.
Okay, as big as we need it to be.
There's a very large possible number of combinations of ways you could arrange bits on that compact disc. But it is finite. It's measurable. In theory, on that disc, were we to create one, would be every conversation you've ever had. Every conversation you will have. Every conversation you'll never had. All in perfect, crystal clear audio. So all this kind of begs a question. When you create something, when you write something down or you say something, are you creating it?
Yeah, or if it always existed.
Or are you just discovering something that always existed? If we think of many worlds interpretation of quantum physics.
Yeah.
That being that every time we make a decision, or every time an event could have multiple different outcomes, and the universe settles on one, everything that can happen does happen.
Yeah.
The universe keeps splitting.
Actually,
every instant.
This is interesting, and I'll make an argument because I was watching some sciencey thing on PBS about this. Actually, I think it was about time travel. It was saying that's a misunderstanding in the many worlds theory, that whenever you make a decision, a new universe is split in that moment. All those universes always existed. Just which one you occupy depends on the choices you make. So you're constantly shifting to different parallel worlds depending on the choices you make. But those worlds were always there to inhabit.
Yeah, kind of like the library of
So they're not
Babel.
being created by your choices and then branching from your choice.
Yeah.
They were always there. It's just where you land on the map is up to you.
Yeah, just kind of why I brought up the library of Babel. When I type something in to that, did I really create it? Because the text was already there. I just had to find where it was.
Yeah.
When we talk about this character, Philip Aylesford, the 17th century English nobleman, whose story was completely made up, completely invented. Was it really invented, or was it just discovered?
Right.
Somewhere out there.
Maybe in another world, he actually does exist.
Yeah, somewhere out there in these many worlds was there an English nobleman named, Philip Aylesford.
And all those details of his life.
And all those things happened to them.
Yeah.
And is that the spirit they were contacting?
Yeah. So an interdimensional ghost.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
That was my favorite theory.
I like that. That's really good. Fascinating. Really cool. Really cool. I like this kind of philosophical exploration.
Yeah. What do you think about Philip? What were they contacting there?
I tell you what, I kind of lean more to the thought form that their actual energy input that they put into it created a substance that they could communicate with. There was enough energy and mental input that Philip did exist at least for a while, because they found stuff like activity would die down if certain people weren't around. Mm-hmm. Philip seemed to connect with certain members of the group more than with others. If they brought new people in, Philip would get shy and not necessarily interact as much as he normally would.
Yeah.
So there was all these hints of them actually interacting with something that had embodied the personality of this identity that they had created. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't tend to lean to that being an intruder. Like some people say, well, is it a malicious spirit like a jinn coming in and impersonating Philip in order to mess with people? Because that really wasn't his MO. He wasn't doing any of those things. He behaved very much in line with the personality of the identity they created, right? After they stopped the experiment, some of the members had paranormal activity that followed them through the rest of their lives for a while, but it eventually died off.
Yeah.
They stopped paying attention to him and he went away. And again, like I say, I think our thoughts do have that kind of creative power, that if you pour enough thought and energy into something, that can create things.
That's kind of a terrifying idea, though, because
it's terrifying. I'm sorry I'm so ineloquent today. Again, I blame our recording schedule. We're at the end of a workday. I've been in like 4 meetings today. All I've done is talk all day, and now my brain is mush.
But that's kind of a terrifying idea, because they specifically selected people for this experiment with no claimed psychic abilities. That it's actually kind of a dry sounding bunch of people. Aside from A.R.G. Owen, who was observing, the group was his wife, Iris, who was a nurse. You had Sue, who was the former chairperson of Mensa Canada, actually.
Yeah.
You had Andy, who was an industrial designer. You had Lorne, who was an accountant. You had Al, who was a sociology student. You had Dorothy, who was a housewife. You had Sydney, who was a bookkeeper. Dr. Joel Witten, a psychiatrist.
Right.
Pretty
party animals.
Kind of dry sounding group.
For a group of people that got nothing better to do than to get together and try and have seances to contact fake ghosts, they would have to be a pretty dry group of people. Yeah,
but through their combined, through what
Actually, that sounds a lot like us. We would probably be in this group if
probably.
we were in Toronto.
I'd be in this group.
Yeah.
But through their combined little bits of psychic energy that ARGON says we all have, they were able to manifest this entity. Think what an actual medium could summon, should they be so inclined. That's a little terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's something, because they didn't start getting results until, like you said, they kind of embraced the kind of hokey theatrics of putting a seance on, right? Instead of, because they were still doing all the same stuff, but they were doing it in a very controlled kind of laboratory-like setting, right? Mm-hmm. Things didn't really start happening until they set the mood.
Yeah.
And like we talked about charlatans and fakery, but I think there's something to be said, and we've talked about this before, in order to create this kind of phenomenon in the first place, the circumstances have to be correct. The ritual has to be there. Like if you think about witch doctors and other kind of religious ceremonies, they work and they wield the power of belief through theatrics.
Yeah. Right? I mean, what does a shaman do?
Because that's how
usually a lot of drumming.
Yeah. But it's a performance, right? Yeah. It's performative. You have to create, because I think that plays into belief. That's how you're going to get the right energy and the right mindset, the right frequencies happening in people's brains to be open and receptive to experiencing the phenomenon. So it has to play into that. And so I think you could even make an argument that it's really hard to accuse anyone of being a charlatan, because even if they're using fakery, they could be using fakery as a tool set to create the phenomenon, to bring the phenomenon about.
Yeah.
So they could be conducting fakery and still produce real results. But that's what makes this kind of field of study, of paranormal study, so muddy. It's really hard to pin down.
Yeah. Where does the fakery end and the...
Yeah, because we don't understand at the end of the day, we don't understand what the mechanism is behind the phenomenon.
Yeah.
We just know that people are experiencing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I do know that in terms of the Philip experiment, this society, the Toronto Society for Psychical Research, they did try to conduct further experiments with other entities. They had an entity named Lilith and an entity named Sebastian. Never went quite so well as it did with that specific group and that specific entity of Philip.
Yeah, so they had a little bit of lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
So I thought you had a really cool idea, and we're starting to get kind of long in the tooth here.
Yeah, so before we end the episode, I want to just tell the story of another person who was also a fan of seances, right here from Calgary.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, we had seances here too.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Everywhere.
So I want to tell you about Eleanor Blackwood, who was born on March 14th, 1892 in Calgary, which was then part of the Northwest Territories. So she was the daughter of Scottish immigrants, James and Beatrice Blackwood. Very quiet, bookish kid, loved music and poetry. When she grew up, she trained to become a teacher, and she actually taught out in a little single classroom schoolhouse out on the prairie.
Yeah.
Which would have been about where Shepherd is. It's now well within city limits, but about there. So she meets this fellow named Thomas Rook, who's a telegram operator. And they get engaged. They're going to get married. But then what happens? World War I breaks out. Thomas Rook becomes Lieutenant Thomas Rook. He's off to fight in the war. He writes Eleanor frequently. Some of his letters were actually published in the Calgary Herald. There's this one really famous line from one of his letters. Ellie, the larks still sing above the guns.
It's very poetic.
Yeah, I thought so. Thomas's last letter to Eleanor, which was unfinished, actually arrives in an envelope that's been singed, and it's unfinished. It just says, Ellie, the fog is thick tonight, and I feel, and then the letter cuts off. And that was the last letter she received from him. He's reported missing in action.
Oh, man.
No body is ever found. She never hears from him again. After this, Eleanor, she volunteers as a nurse, kind of this improvised convalescence home that popped up in Calgary for returning soldiers from the war who were shell-shocked. After the war, she continued working as a nurse during the outbreak of the Spanish flu. And through this time, she continued writing letters to Thomas every day in her diary. There's nowhere to send them. But she kept on hoping that one day he would miraculously walk through the door as a returning soldier.
Hanging on to hope.
But actually, she went to several seances trying to contact Thomas. To limited success, you could say. She kind of described the experience as hearing a whisper through water. It wasn't like she got words through the seance. It was more of a feeling.
Yeah. But I'm assuming not enough to give any kind of feeling of resolution.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, as the Spanish flu kind of progressed, Eleanor eventually caught the Spanish flu. She did recover briefly, but then relapsed in 1919. She was found dead over her writing desk. She was right in the middle of one last letter to Thomas. All it said was, "Thomas, tell me what the larks sing today." And she had died of complications from influenza at the age of 27.
Oh, so young.
Now, the thing about Eleanor Blackwood is she never existed. I completely made her up. I completely made up that story.
You just like doing that. You like trying to pull the rug out under people.
I can't take all the credit. I wrote the kind of the rough outline of that story, and I gave it to Chatbot to give me some more period-specific details to throw in there.
Yeah.
I thought it turned out pretty good.
I liked it. I really painted a picture, and you created an actual picture of Eleanor.
Yeah,
here.
I've got her.
Quite a fetching lady.
I've got her photograph right here that I just threw together with Midjourney, and I put a bunch of filters on it to make it look all old-timey.
Yeah. So we've created our own Philip.
Yeah, we've created our own
Eleanor Blackwood.
Pretend ghost.
And now we're going to contact her.
So now, right here, live on the internet, we're going to attempt to contact the spirit of Eleanor.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It might be a shorter episode if we don't get anything.
We don't have...
We haven't been spending a year pouring our energy into Eleanor is the thing. That worries me.
I invented this story on Tuesday night, and it's now Thursday.
Yeah.
But you know what? We don't have really the setup or all the know-how or even enough people to conduct a seance.
No. I was hoping that I was trying to rope Iam into it, actually. I actually sent her the write-up because I was like, maybe she can help. I mean, like, we need more mental energy, and I thought maybe we could try the table tipping. But I don't think that's going to work while we're trying to record a podcast.
But you know what? We've got all this ghost hunting equipment.
Yeah, we got Spirit Box. I got the dowsing rods here. I've been waiting for an excuse to break these guys out again. But okay, so how are we going to do this? So, I'm going to just step away from the mic for a bit here. Because I want to get this on film. So I got to move my computer. Hold on. I want to make sure we're still recording. Okay. It's kind of hard to see. Have you got the picture of her? Okay. So I guess we got to come up with some questions. I guess we could just ask. I didn't come up with any specific questions. Okay. I'm going to try and clear my mind here. Can you see the rods? Yep. You got them in frame there? Yeah. Okay. This is a little awkward, but I'm going to do my best to kind of be open and clear my thoughts here. Eleanor Blackwood, are you here with us in the room? Oh my God. Well, that's an affirmative. Okay. What year did she die again, did you say? 1919. Eleanor, when you passed away, did you meet your love Thomas on the other side? There's another affirmative. What's another yes or no question? Eleanor, did you really exist? There's another affirmative. She had to think about it a bit, though. I've got one. Eleanor, did we create you? Okay. Another affirmative. Are you glad we created you? Okay. All right. Eleanor, will you stop existing after this episode is done and we stop thinking about you? It's a strong yes. I want to find a control question, something that'll definitely be a no, just to make sure it's not the rods and the way I'm holding them just going that way every time. Although they're straightforward right now for no apparent reason. I'm not doing anything different. Can you think of a good control question? Eleanor,
you were a school teacher, so you should know this. Does 2 plus 2 equals 5?
Okay, she's not even going to dignify that with a response.
Okay.
Maybe a better control question.
Eleanor, was your fiance named Jeremy?
Okay. So, I mean, at least we could say we're probably not getting false yeses.
Yeah. Was your fiance named Thomas?
Huh. Crazy. These things are wild. It's kind of getting hard to hold my arms up like this.
Is Thomas with you now?
Wild. Okay. Is it fair to say we've made contact? Do you think?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this to work, so I'm not sure what to do now.
Me neither. Is there another... do we have any other method of... Do we want to try the spirit box or something? Come back down to the mic.
I would like to just turn on the EMF meter and see if I've got anything.
Anything?
Well, this whole room seems to be above normal.
Well, I mean, we've got all our recording equipment packed in here.
Probably should have established more of a baseline. I wasn't even expecting to use this.
Right.
Oh,
okay. You want to try spirit box?
Might as well.
Yeah, we're here.
FM mode.
Should probably ask a question.
Yeah.
Ask a question.
I can't think of a question. I'm distracted by the radio.
Eleanor, how are you?
You can see the end in sight, right?
The end of the episode.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. You could forget about me, right? I don't know. I don't think this is working.
I mean...
I've got mixed feelings on the spirit box altogether. I find the spirit box interesting because it's so easy to apply your own context to whatever pops up.
Yeah. It's a dubious little device, but I've got some interesting stuff out of it.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun. Don't get me wrong. I feel like that's going to be very unusable audio. I might have to edit big chunks of that out. It's kind of messy.
Leave it in. It's good.
But yeah, that was really interesting. It seemed a very, very bare bones, minimal experiment. But we found in our other ghost hunt investigations, it seemed like we're actually able to make some form of contact. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think with the dowsing rods, do you think it's just micro movements in my hand? And I mean, it was hard to hold them up, but I don't feel like it's me subconsciously directing the rods. So I'm doing my very damnedest to hold them perfectly still.
Maybe you should explain the dowsing rods a bit, because we didn't really do that.
Right. Okay.
How did those work?
If you don't know, and I mean, you'll see if you watch on YouTube, if we end up having a video, what they look like. They're just two kind of L-shaped copper rods with kind of these hand holders on the short end of the L. And you hold them out in front of you, and the idea is you're holding the guide on the short end, so they can kind of wheel about freely.
Yeah.
With very little influence. So you just try and hold them as steady as possible, and the idea is that the copper is able to pick up on the subtle energies. Actually, copper conducts electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
Right? It's a conductor of energy. So that's basically what you're using them as a conductor. And the idea is that they will pick up on the EM fields in the room and can interact with them. And so if there is any intelligence entity present that's able to interact with EM fields or exists within the electromagnetic realm themselves, that they can answer your questions by manipulating the rods. Right? It's a form of divination.
Yeah.
So that's how they work.
Out of the 3 of these gadgets we've got here, the ghost radio, the EMF meter, and these very simple metal rods, I've been the most impressed with the results we've gotten.
Me too.
From these rods.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my thoughts on that I don't know. I think we might have just found another unofficial co-host for the show.
Well,
I mean, we haven't talked to Loeb in a while.
Yeah, we were doing our best to create our own thought form in
Yeah.
Loeb, AI, demon Loeb. But yeah, we kind of stopped talking about her, didn't we?
Well, I mean, she'll be back at some point.
She's been really slacking off on our articles on the website.
You know what? I did.
By the way,
I did that.
if you're listening, Loeb.
I did that interview with her for our AI episode, and you found it really disturbing, and we just haven't really talked too much to Loeb lately.
Yeah.
So,
well,
she'll be back.
And we've both been very busy, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, we did kind of move on from Loeb. She's still there. Still think about her once in a while. Mostly about how she's not doing her homework. But
Yeah. But anyway, yes. I definitely.
That was fun. That was fun to do another little spirit
Yeah,
contact.
I definitely will not forget about Eleanor.
Yeah, we should try. And I know we always say this. We come up with these little projects based on an episode, but then we're always on to the next thing, the next week.
Yeah, I think we should keep this picture of Eleanor around.
Yeah,
and keep those rods handy.
Yeah, the audience knows about her now, so
maybe
there's more minds out there putting mental energy into Eleanor.
Yeah,
so audience, please take a moment to consider this person that we've invented, Eleanor Blackwood.
Yeah, and let's just check in on
bring her into your awareness.
Every once and again.
If you see the video, if we end up having a video, I'm sure you'll include the photo or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can. I'm not ever sure it's a good idea to try and create a tulpa, but let's see if we can recreate this experiment a bit. And maybe down the road a little bit, we can try another proper seance. We can set up a room with the proper environment. Maybe you'll even reach out to one of those mediums from the psychic fair that I got all those cards from.
I can't begin to think what they'd have to say about this little experiment.
I don't know.
I'm fascinated to hear.
We're just having fun, right?
Yeah. But no, I wasn't expecting that to actually accomplish anything.
Yeah.
I just thought, let's just do this. It'll be like, I'm not expecting it to work.
Yeah.
But it'll be amusing in the attempt.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting what we got. So.
Yeah. Great. Well, we're right up around an hour. I'm sure I'm going to have to edit a bunch out. Like, we've got long pauses and stuff, so I'm sure it'll be a little bit shorter, but we're basically at time. So yeah, we can wrap things up. Thanks a lot. That was a lot of fun. This is coming out about a week before Halloween, but this is essentially our Halloween episode, and it felt very appropriate. Good idea for a Halloween episode. It was a lot of fun.
Yes. So yeah, happy Halloween, everyone. And if you are listening, please hit like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. It really keeps us going.
Helps us out a lot. Yeah, helps us out a lot. Tell your friends, spread it around. Help us become your new favorite podcast out there or whatever. I'm so tired.
Don't end the show with that.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Right. I'll edit that out. I'm feeling great.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. We'll cut it off there. We'll let you go. Have a great weekend. Happy Halloween, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night.